A chunk of my most popular, well-performing videos on this channel, guys, are about the Help to Buy scheme. Why is that? I think because the Help to Buy scheme is a mixed bag. It's a bit of a gift and it's a bit of a curse. I myself have benefited from the Help to Buy scheme. The house that I live in now was a Help to Buy purchase. And for people like me who are working class, didn't have no money, I wasn't given tens of thousands of pounds from my parents to get onto the housing ladder. I wasn't left money in my grandparents' will or anything like that. I did it all myself, had to work to save and then use the Help to Buy scheme to get onto the property ladder. So in that sense, the government scheme, the Help to Buy government scheme, is really helpful for people like us who don't have enough money for, say, a 10-20% deposit. 5% is what we got, what we're limited to. And in that sense, it allows us to get onto the property ladder. The curse is that these developers building these properties, man, I'm seeing more and more, especially through this on social media, through your comments on my videos, and hearing from you guys when you talk to me about the Help to Buy scheme. I think the jury's out now. These properties over the last 10 years have been way overpriced. The Help to Buy scheme should really be called the Help to Build scheme, because the primary beneficials, that's not a word, beneficiaries of this scheme, apart from us, have been the developers. They've been able to build a ton of houses using really cheap materials. These aren't quality new build homes like they built in the Edwardian, Victorian era. You know, those houses are still around today and the prices are just inflated. I'm experiencing that now, 6 years down the line. My property that I bought has still not gone up in value. It is still valued today, 6 years later, at more than £35,000 less than what I bought it for. That tells you just how overinflated the price was when I bought it. But let's take a look at this video. I found it really interesting. It's a guy talking about the Help to Buy scheme and how a lot of us, or he feels at least, that a lot of us have been scammed by developers as part of this Help to Build. See, my brain's actually replaced the actual name. The Help to Buy scheme has affected us as everyday buyers in the UK.
Here's a quiz. What is one thing that the UK government could do that could, say, turn around the housing crisis? If you answered, maybe build more housing, congratulations, you are more intelligent than most people working in the UK government. Now, let's just say you live in an older home. You could say you have to fix it up every now and then, and that's to be expected, but the essentials are down pat, right? You've got 4 walls, you got a floor, you got a ceiling, you got some utilities, plumbing, electricity. You live in a first world country after all, right? Right? The problem these days is that UK developers aren't really interested in building a home that lasts as long as yours, or a home in general.
I
You
agree.
see, most UK developers are interested in building profit, and accommodation is merely a means to an end. Why build a home that lasts 100 years when that cuts into shareholders' profits? How about 50? 50 is probably good enough, right? But you could actually squeeze a little bit more money out of the public if you did 20 years. 10? 4 years, perhaps? Imagine buying a house and putting your entire life savings into it so that you and your family, your loved ones, can have a stable place to live, but having it completely fall apart within 4 years. That's the state of UK housing at the moment.
Interesting, he's hitting a lot of points that I said in the intro. Let me ask you, do you live in a Help to Buy new build property right now? How is the condition of it now, just in terms of, you know, the work that, in terms of, you know, general wear and tear? How are your walls? How are your floors? How are your ceilings? I'll be interested to know about the general condition of your properties and whether stuff's starting to go wrong already in your houses now. Let me know in the comments.
Property YouTuber, and the state of UK housing is absolutely appalling, but there might be some hope around the corner. Let's look at a new build development in London. Fears grow as troubled Camden flats deteriorate. Most people that live here are having this sort of issue. Even in the common spaces, we're having issues where the leaks are just causing the flat to fall apart, ceiling coming out near the lifts. It's just awful. And these people have put in their life savings to buy these places. 700 to 900,000 pounds for these flats. Lord, near £1 million.
Who's paying? I mean, what part of London is this where someone's paying? I know it's possible in London, by the way. Anything's possible in London when it comes to property prices, but that is ridiculous in terms of a price for a flat.
£1 million that within 4 years, you're in dismay, feeling like you're going to die in your flat because it's just going to fall apart. That can be covered by the NHBC insurance. Now, this is in theory what's meant to happen. However, you're forgetting about that big giant scam, biggest scam in all of the UK, the leasehold system. Now, the NHBC insurance does apply to leaseholders like myself, but boy, does it make it just a bit more difficult to get anything done. See, leaseholders, we don't own anything. We are leasing the ability to live in the flat under which the freeholder owns the property, and they are not in charge of fixing anything. That is all down to the leaseholders to do all this sort of thing.
So just a quick point on that. The leasehold system in the UK is wild. I mean, I've never really understood it, especially as a new person coming to property. I was like, hold on a sec. So if I buy a flat, because leases are mainly on flats, it's an entitlement to live in it and do a limited amount of things to it. I can't even, add another room to it. I can't refurb it. I can't change a house. I can just live there. I pay the full price for the house. But after 100, 200, however long your lease is, years, it goes back to the freeholder. I've never understood it. Never understood it. It is a conundrum for me. But when you look at the history of leases, if you just do a bit of Google searching, look at this on Wikipedia. The tenancy was essential to the feudal hierarchy after English law prohibited sub-infeudation, the creation of new feudal estates by existing feudal landholders in the 13th century. A lord would own the land and tenants became vassals. The good old English class system. So basically, leases are a carryover from the medieval feudal system. If you don't know about the feudal system in the UK, quick bit of history. Basically, it was all around land and ownership. So the king and bishops and the aristocracy would own all of the land in the UK back then. And then everyone else were basically vassals, peasants. So the normal people, there'd be a very small proportion of people in the UK who are upper class, royalty, bishops as well, so some people connected to the church, but basically the small upper class would own all the land and everyone else were just tenants and guests on the land. Really messed up system of land ownership in the UK. People would live on the land, but they would pay the owners of the land, those small percentage of landowners, in the form of maybe rents or crops or livestock. And that's just a carryover today. Why it hasn't been abolished today in 2024, modern age, I have no idea. But that is a history. That's why it exists today in the UK.
You see, as a developer, you want to build a tower block, you've got two options. Option one, build a very high quality tower block using the best builders, the best building materials, high quality plumbing and electricity. This way you can front load your costs, and when the building comes into disrepair many years down the line, it won't cost as much to keep it up. However, that's quite expensive, right? That's not going to get you a lot more profits, and it's going to be harder to price that accurately to balance all the profits you want while also building more affordable housing. So why don't you go with option two, the one that most developers that I've seen enact? Option two is genius, really. Use the worst quality building materials you can imagine. Just hire the builders that you can off the cheapest website. Don't even check that they have any credentials. Just bring these people in. In my development, for instance, in my building, at some point, I had the neighbor downstairs come to me like, hey, you have a flood in your house? It's dripping all over my floor. And I was like, oh my God. So I removed the plinth from under my sink and I find some presents. The builders just threw their rubbish in there. They had some meal deals, some leftover croissant.
Oh, man.
Cool. Thank God I didn't get any rodents, but that's the quality of builders that we've come to expect now in these new build developments. Why pay for quality ones when you can just get these shitty ones that just do whatever they want, hide their mistakes, and nobody really cares about the quality? But Evan, you say, I don't understand. How does that make them more money? Won't they have to then pay to fix all these problems later on? Oh, no.
So, I mean, I can relate to this as well. Where I live in a decent part of London, in a new build development that was built, just 6-7 years ago. But, there are issues all over the development. And you see that coming out of the service charge going up and up and up every year. A lot of additional maintenance to the block that you really wouldn't expect after just 6 or 7 years of a building being built. It should be in better condition, at this stage, so soon after it's being built. And of course, we're all paying for it out of our service charge every year.
The leaseholder has to pay. That's why they sold Leasehold. That's the whole point of the leasehold scam. You see, as a leaseholder, let's just say you have a complaint about a leak in your ceiling, or about the lifts not working, or about the amenities that you pay for never being available, or about hot water in your development never being available despite the fact that you pay an extreme amount of money to live in this fancy development. Standard quality of life things. Well, the developer and be like, oh, so sorry, we totally didn't expect this. Let's call up the Fixie Boys. The Fixie Boys that are actually our own men that we pay from a separate company to make sure that we are basically giving ourselves money.
I mean, that's so true, because when I see a lot of the tradesmen and the workmen who come, in their high-vis jackets and they've got the gear on and they're clearly here to fix something in the development, they've got the brand, the logo of the company that built the bloody development in the first place. So it's so true. They're paying themselves to fix parts of the development that they built out of, poor, low-quality materials in the first place, and we're all paying for it.
Okay, but they still have to pay for that, right? For those people's time? No, not really, because those people that come to fix it, they get charged, and that money comes out of the service charge.
There you go.
Oh, wow. So that means that all the people that live here, the leaseholders, are paying to fix for the sins of the bad building quality.
There you go.
Yes, now you're getting it. That is the leasehold scam. And guess what? The more we just allow developers to do this and just run away with our money, the more they're just going to do it. Unless we actually give them more than a slap on the wrist and go, this is unacceptable. But here's where things might change. Maybe. The topic of banning leasehold properties has been coming up in the news quite a lot recently, which is good news, as it's probably more and more apparent that the leasehold scam is just a way to bleed house buyers from their hard-earned money and a way to further enrich the ultra-wealthy housing developers. But lucky for us, our very own Michael Gove is actually working with the government to ban leasehold properties. Oh my God, he's finally doing something, and just this December, guess what? The bill actually just passed in Parliament. The good news? Well, it did ban some of the leasehold properties. The bad news? Just 1% of them. Congratulations to Michael Gove. He gutted he tried to tell the media he's working on this. He's totally sorted. They've just banned leasehold houses.
Oh, man.
Houses? I mean, as far as I was aware, the leasehold problem is pretty much a thing with apartments.
Yeah, so most leaseholds, I think I said it earlier on in this video, most leaseholds are flats, okay? According to this guy's stats, to be specific, just 1% of leaseholds in the UK are houses, so the other 99% are flats. And what the government has done, this government's a joke by the way, they put a ban on leasehold houses, so it doesn't really benefit that many people at all, okay? But in summary, a really interesting video as it relates to the Help to Buy scheme. And I stand by what I said at the beginning. The Help to Buy scheme has been a gift and a curse. It's been helpful to get people like us who don't have a lot of options when it comes to getting onto the property ladder, get on the property ladder. But nothing's for free in life, especially in this country, especially with this government. You get onto the property ladder with a minimal deposit of 5%, but you are going to be charged a very, very high premium in most cases for these properties, for the opportunity to do that. You're going to pay, over market value basically. And if you're in my position and many other people's positions, you might not see an increase in the value of your property between buying it and eventually selling it, because most people at some stage will move on. Most people don't spend their whole lives in a one-bed apartment. You get a family, you need to upgrade, you need to upsize into a bigger house, bigger flat. You might move abroad, you might move cities, move towns. If you're in my position, I'm not going to see any increase in the value of my property. I'm in negative equity, but that's the price I've paid for using the Help to Buy scheme and getting onto the property ladder. And in addition to the inflated price that you pay for Help to Buy scheme properties, you're also going to more than likely be a leaseholder, so you're not going to own the freehold. You're not going to be able to refurb, add rooms, add a conservatory, add an extension, which traditionally increase the value of your property. So that's a way that a lot of people in freehold houses increase the value of their property, aside from it just going up in value over time. Can't do that with a leasehold Help to Buy new build property. And then lastly, the costs of maintenance. A lot of these new build developers do not use quality materials, so you see a lot of maintenance issues come in relatively soon after it's been built, and you and I pay for that out of our service charges. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about that. I think that's a really good breakdown of the Help to Buy scheme, Help to Buy scam as he calls it, and how developers specifically have been able to really exploit it for profit. But do you think that's a price worth paying to get onto the property ladder in the UK? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. This year I'm making a video every month to answer any questions that you have for me. So whether you want to know whether you should invest in a limited company or in your own name, whether you should buy a flat or a house, what is the best way to get started in property, or who my barber is, just let me know. You can ask me in the comment section below, on Instagram, on TikTok, and I'll make a video dedicated to your questions. Like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.